Now, today, Monday, is bank holiday in Japan. So, for the Japanese yen, we really don't expect much movement. And that's the only event today, bank holiday from Japan. Outside that, we don't have any other fundamental activity. So, like I always say, so that tells us there's a possibility of the market ranging, of not being so active in the course of today because there's no fundamentals to drive the market. Now, usually that is even expected on Mondays. Market volatility often can be low because of the absence of fundamental events. But from tomorrow, Tuesday, activities may pick up in the market because we have a number of fundamental events. But because of time, I'll just, talk about the key events that could drive the market. Now, tomorrow, Tuesday, by 10:15 a.m., there will be Bank of England Governor Bailey speech by 10:15 a.m. So this is going to impact upon the British pound, and that's a high impact event. It's a speech. So that's the key event for tomorrow. On Wednesday, the only event is existing home sales from United States. It's a medium impact event, so we may not expect so much volatility from that event, and consequently, the market may not really move so much on Wednesday. Thursday is loaded with a lot of fundamental events, quite a number of them, and starts with the Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Bullock's speech by 4 a.m. on Thursday. By 8:15 a.m. on Thursday, we have the French flash manufacturing PMI from the Eurozone, also the French flash services PMI, and 8:30 a.m. From let's just say that from 8:15 a.m. to 9 a.m. we have a lot of events from the Eurozone, which will lead to volatility on the Euro instruments. And 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, there'll be the flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI, which will impact upon the British pound. And still on Thursday, by 1:15 p.m., there'll be main refinancing rates and monetary policy statement from the Eurozone. Same Thursday, there'll be core retail sales and retail sales from Canada by 1:30 p.m. And later on in the day, again, 1:45 p.m., there'll be ECB press conference and flash manufacturing PMI from the United States, flash services PMI from the United States, and 3 p.m. new home sales. So Thursday is a day that is loaded with majority, in fact, majority of the events this week is coming up, exactly on Thursday. And finally, Friday, the key event on Friday will be the retail sales from the United Kingdom, which will take place by 7 a.m. in the morning. So I want us to take note of this event, and take note of the time so that you can plan ahead for them. All right, that being said, I'll flip over now to the chat. We'll look at what the technicals are saying. Good morning, Madam Onaji and Okon Usoro. So I'll flip over to the chat now. We'll look at what the technicals is saying for this week. Now, the week is starting on a very, very quiet note. The market is very, very quiet. We're not really having much setup today. Even the setup available is not showing signs of volatility at the moment. So we'll enter the week on a very, very cautious note. Now we start by checking the dollar index to know the direction, the potential direction of the United States dollar. So this is the dollar index on the this is the daily time frame. We can see that price has been trending downwards, making a series of lower highs, and another lower high right here. So, and also a confluence with a resistance zone, a support on resistance zone there. So technically, we expect a further bearish movement on the dollar index. And if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, what we can see now is that on the 4-hour, exactly on that support on resistance zone with the trend line confluence, we are seeing the formation of a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder. So we'll be anticipating a bearish movement on the dollar index for this week. So we're bearish on the dollar for this week. And consequently, that will affect the USD which currently is trading around a support turn resistance level. This is support, resistance. So technically, we're expecting a bearish movement on the excuse me. Consequently, we're expecting a bearish movement on the USD in the course of this week. Now that's on the daily time frame. We can flip over to the 4 hour time frame. And this is what I can see on the 4 hour time frame. We can see a rising wedge pattern, and we'll anticipate price to break out downward to trigger a sell on the USD this week. At the point of entry, RSI should be clearly below 50. Currently, it's at 50.4, but then want something clearly below 50, maybe around RSI around 45 thereabouts, to trigger a sell on the USD So I'm bearish on the USD for this week. And consequently, we'll be looking at a bullish movement on a pair like the GBP USD because it's negatively correlated to the USD So if the USD is selling, we expect GBP USD to likely be buying. So for the GBP USD price is trading around the previous support zone. And if you take it down to the 4 hour time frame, we'll be expecting a bullish movement on the GBP USD. More so, we have a falling wedge pattern on the 4 hour, which could trigger a bullish movement. All right, so if price breaks out above, we'll be looking at buying the GBP USD for this week. Also, don't forget that your RSI needs to be clearly above 50 at the point of entry. So we're bearish on the USD we're bullish on the GBP USD. Now, if the dollar is bearish, gold will likely be bullish, but somehow gold seems to be trading around a kind of a resistance level at the moment. But the overall trend on gold for many months has been bullish. You can see this gold on the monthly time frame. It's been bullish. So we'll go down to the 4 hour time frame. We should not neglect the fact there is a resistance right here. So if you're looking at taking a bullish trade on gold, you need to wait for price to clearly break above this resistance, retest, and continue. So there must be a clear breakout, retest, and at the point of retest, possibly there's a rejection candle or maybe an inverse head and shoulder or double bottom pattern that can give us an indication that we might be looking at taking a buy on gold. But don't just enter a blind buy trade on gold. Wait for price to break above that resistance level. And if price is not breaking the resistance level, it may as well still, have some minor sell before any other thing happens in the market. But generally, I'm looking at a bullish movement on gold for this week. Looking at Euro New Zealand for this week also, and for this one, I'm actually, expecting a more higher probability setup for a bearish trade on the Euro New Zealand. And why I'm looking at that is this: on the weekly time frame, price has been ending in the last couple of weeks as rejection candle. That tells us, and price also is trading around the resistance level. Rejection candles around resistance level is telling us that the buyers are getting, exhausted and the sellers are getting ready to drive the price downwards. We actually expected the sell last week, but it didn't come. So possibly this week we might be anticipating that bearish break on the Euro New Zealand. So this Euro New Zealand on the 4 hour time frame, price is currently trading at a resistance level on the weekly time frame around rejection candles. And on the 4 hour time frame, we have a rising wedge pattern. So if price breaks out below the rising wedge, if price breaks below the rising wedge, you'll be looking at taking a sell on the Euro New Zealand. And another key thing that might drive price downward is the formation of what is looking a lot like a head and shoulder pattern right here. So this neckline region will be a critical point where we might be looking at potential reversal. So if price breaks out below that, neckline region, then that confirms our reversal. And at that point, our RSI needs to be clearly below 50 to trigger a sell on the Euro New Zealand. And I tell you that this is a high probability setup I'm looking more keenly at for this week. And we can still take it a step further by looking at the potential profit that could be made on this. And I can say that to Fibonacci, if prices are below, you can see that the Fibonacci level is exactly just below that neckline region. So Fibonacci 38.2 can give as much as about 110 pips. Fibonacci 50 can give as much as about 200 pips. Fibonacci 61.8 can give as much as 300 pips, and Fibonacci 70.6 can give as much as 435 pips. Now it's a swing setup, so it may span the entire week when the breakout happens, but then that's just the beauty of swing. You hold and let it run. So if you're a swing trader, just put your eyes on this. This is strictly for those who are swing traders. All right, so that will be all from my end this morning. Like I said, the market starting off on the week on the quiet note. Maybe from tomorrow we may have more volatility, but the setup I've given is what the market, has in stock as at this morning. And then the course of the day also, when we see more setup, we'll definitely let you know about it. So I'll take requests now. If you want me to check a specific instrument, you can put it on the screen. I'll analyze it for you as we begin to round up. So Clement Ogunshola is asking me to check BTC USD. Now for BTC USD, price trended recently, and we can see BTC hitting the highest point ever since inception. And that's price hitting well over $122,000 per BTC. That's the highest point ever. But then I can also see here that price, you can see a trend line over here. I think it's clearer on the daily time frame. All right. So we can clearly see that price hit a trend line on the daily, and that has resulted into the recent range we are experiencing on BTC. The price made a series of higher highs, and BTC looks like it's trying to form like a rising wedge, kind of. So what does this imply? Price makes a series of higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, possibly a higher low. It's not cast in stone, but technically this is what I'm seeing on the chart at the moment. So there has been a range around this area in recent times. You can see that price seems not to have broken out above that level yet. Now we will not ignore the fact that BTC is actually fundamentally driven, with the adoption of BTC, Solana, and other XRP and other assets by the United States government, into the banking system. So this is what I'm seeing on BTC now. We have price trading around this range. So two things could either happen to BTC. Price could break out and continue going higher, or it could break out low and target the trend line. So it's at a critical point, and that's what I'm seeing right on the daily time frame. But let's take it down to 4 hours and see if we could have some clearer speculations also. This is the 4 hour, and it's still relatively the same thing. 1 hour, 15 minutes is still the same thing. So for BTC, we need to trade it with a lot of caution. A breakout above could mean that price will break out retest and continue going higher, or if it breaks out below, it hits that trend line, and from then we'll know the next move. So trade BTC USD with caution is actually as a critical point as we speak. Euro USD, Euro AUD, New Zealand USD, gold. I've analyzed gold already, Mr. Mukhtar Gaba. New Zealand USD. Joshua Corey, I've analyzed gold already. You can watch the video again. I'll drop the link in the WhatsApp group or whatever group you belong to. So for Euro USD, I said that we are bearish on the dollar for this week because that's what we saw on the dollar index. And if we have a bearish outlook on the dollar, it means that assets like Euro USD, GBP USD will have a bullish sentiment. And this is Euro USD. There's a previous resistance turn support up there. And that's an indication of a potential bullish movement on the Euro USD for this week. So if you take it down to the 4-hour time frame, this is what we'll have. So we are bearish on the dollar index. We're bullish on the Euro USD. So you wait for price to break out above this trend line on the Euro USD on the 4-hour time frame. All the setup I've given today, they are all swing because that's what the market is giving. You cannot take what the market is not giving. This is the setup the market is giving. So wait for a clear breakout above this support on resistance level on the 4-hour and ensure that at the point of entry, your RSI is clearly above 50. That will make it clearer that it's time to trigger an entry. So we're bullish on the Euro USD and New Zealand USD. So if the dollar is bearish, then it's just easy. The dollar index just gives us a clear view of what the market is saying. So dollar index is bearish, Euro USD is bullish, New Zealand USA will also likely be bullish. Now that does not mean you just dump bullish trade on all of them. You need to check out for the setup. It's important. No assumptions in trading. This is New Zealand USD. You can see it. Price hit the support, forming a falling wedge. Could have taken this as an inverse head and shoulder, but this shoulder is too short. The first shoulder is short. But notwithstanding, if it works out, all well and good. But what is important is that we're expecting the breakout upwards on the New Zealand USD on the 4-hour. So we're bullish on the New Zealand USD. So if I already analyzed gold, you might need to watch the video again. I'll drop the link shortly. So I've analyzed the New Zealand USD, Euro USD, and gold. So we'll look at Euro AUD and GBP AUD. Now for Euro AUD, I've looked at this instrument myself for quite some time. It's expected to have broken out into a sell, but somehow it's not breaking. That means the some fundamental seems not to be supporting the breakout yet. This is Euro AUD on the monthly time frame. You can see powerful rejection candles, on the monthly time frame, which should have been an indication that price is expected to sell. It will still sell, but somehow it's not been selling in the last couple of months as expected. And like I said, that means the fundamental seems not to be supporting a bearish movement for now. Last 2 weeks, price got back to that resistance, and we can see we had this bearish candlestick, which should have been an indication of a bearish moving. But then last week again, instead of selling, we saw some slight buying. So maybe this week, maybe is the maybe thing. It's not guaranteed. Probably the fundamentals this week support a bearish breakout. Probably we'll see it. More so, we have a lot of the manufacturing PMIs coming up this week. Possibly, if that data, supports the bearish break, then hopefully we'll see it. But technically, we have a bearish sentiment on the Euro AUD. This is it still on the daily time frame. And price actually has broken out below the trend line, but retested it. And we're expecting a further bearish breakout. So I'll take it down to 4 hour now and show you the levels to look out for. This is the 4 hour time frame. And we have this support zone. So this is the breakout, the retests. We're supposed to have a continuation. So if price breaks out below this support zone, that will be a time to trigger a sell on the Euro AUD. This is what I'm saying. If a new candle opens below this support zone with RSI clearly below 50, that will be a time to start to trigger a bearish trade on the Euro AUD. So we're still bearish, but watching for clear entry on the Euro AUD. Next is the GBP AUD.
Please come again, sir. Please come again, sir.
I said we're bearish on the Euro AUD, but we're waiting for clear entry. We want to see price. Price has broken out below the trend line. That's retested it. We're looking for continuation, but it has to be below that support zone. It's a swing setup, so it's going to take some time, but ultimately price should go bearish and confirm with your RSI clearly below 50. And I look at the GBP AUD. GBP AUD also, I've anticipated the bearish movement, but it's still not breaking as expected. This is GBP AUD on the monthly time frame, likewise as what we saw on the Euro AUD. You know, though we are not really having a clear-cut resistance as so much here, but we still can still take it. But importantly, we have a rejection candle here, and that may just, with that height of that candle, which is actually still in the same region as this other candlestick here. So it's still a resistance zone. It's still a resistance zone. So we can see that there was a slight bearish movement. This is this month's candle. So this month we've actually seen some bearish movement on the GBP AUD. So we flip to the weekly, and we can see that in the last couple of weeks there was a bearish movement. Though last week the market sort of experienced a range, and price hits a support right here on the weekly time frame. Now, on the long term, we expect a breakout, but then we will not ignore the fact that price hit a support on the daily time frame, which could still trigger a price retesting this monthly resistance before dropping. It all depends on how the market really decides to move. But on the very, very long term, it's a bearish one. But in the interim, in the short term, there could be some bullish movement to this resistance on the monthly time frame before we have an eventual drop. Or price will just break out outrightly. I mean, it all depends on how the fundamentals will support what is happening in the market currently. But if at all price will go bullish, this will be my view. You can see that last week price hit that support, formed an inverse head and shoulder, and that led to some, slight bullish movement before a retracement occurred towards the end of the week. If it's going to have some minor buying, price will need to break out above this recent high, and it's actually a key level. Price needs to break out above. So if price breaks out above this area, it will go to this resistance, monthly resistance. Otherwise, if it breaks out below, that will be a sell. So it's in between. Just watch critically and see how the market decides to move on this one. Two things we do in the market: we buy, we sell, we wait. There are times you can't say clearly whether it's a buy or a sell. You have to go with what you see, and that's what technical analysis is all about. All right, finally, I'll look at AUDJPY from, I believe, is a male. That should be Mr. Rex Peters.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're
God
welcome.
bless you.
You're welcome. All right, so AUDJPY is a resistance zone on the daily time frame. We have a resistance point from here to this point, and we'll flip down to the 4 hour. Now, the 4 hour, it's having what looks like a head and shoulder, but though it's not too sharp, but notwithstanding, we'll still pay a lot of attention to it. Then we have the neckline region. So this is my view on the AUDJPY. If price breaks out below this neckline region, which is a resistance on support, price will target this other part of the trend line. From here, two things will happen. It could go back up or break out outrightly. But what is important for now is if we can get a clear breakout below this support, then price will proceed to hit the trend line. Let me see further. Yeah, so it could hit this particular low, which may act as the profit-taking level. So price has a potential of dropping to the tune of about 60, between 50 to 65 pips, on the AUDJPY. Watch out closely. This could happen in the course of today or in the course of the week. So that's what I'm saying. I'm bearish on the AUDJPY. My bias on JPUSD is bullish, and I've already analyzed that. That's for Ken Odini. You can watch the video again once we drop the link. All right, I've attended to all the requests here, and we'll be ending the analysis session here. Don't forget, it's a brand new week. Make sure you don't miss any of our analysis sessions. For those who might be new on the platform, we run analysis twice in a day, 7 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. So don't miss the 12:30 p.m. session this afternoon. And if you are completely brand new on this platform, this is PU Prime. We're a global brand with head office in Australia and 2 offices in Nigeria, Abuja and Lagos. We're on weekly training sessions at these 2 locations twice in a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you happen to be around Abuja or Lagos, then make yourself available for any of these, to be at any of these locations for physical training. The address of our Abuja office is PU Prime Africa, Walk and Connect Building, 50 Ebitu Ukiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja. And the address of our Lagos office is PU Prime Lagos, Egos Executive Lounge, 54B Adeni Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. The time for Abuja training is 10:30 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, while the time for the Lagos office training is 11 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, if you're brand new to trading, I tell you that this is the best opportunity you have to get qualified financial analysts who can put you through and give you a foundation on how this business, truly works. And if you're right here on the platform, you are not a part of our 5X group, you're missing a lot. You're leaving so much money on the table. 5X is our special platform where we give quality, high probability signals that can help boost your account to 5 times of your initial capital. Now, so far, we have generated over 1,000 pips on that platform. This is no joke. This is no fluke. Those who are there understand what I'm talking about. So if you want to be a part of 5X, just chat with your account manager. They will guide you on how to get started. Now, this platform for 5X, you are required to have your account funded. Especially, you may need to fund it to be a part of that, of that group to receive the quality signals. And for our training, we actually don't charge for training, but you're expected to have a registered account with PU Prime and possibly funded, so that now you're funding, you're not paying us for the training, you're funding with the money you will use to trade by yourself. And we have other solutions like copy trading, which you can talk to your account manager to guide you on how to get started with. All right, so that will be the end from of this analysis session, and I'm signing out here. Take care and have a great week ahead. Bye bye.